Hi everybody, Viper here coming to you straight from the nest and something that everyone has been waiting for. So I do have the rules and the setup lined up. I'm going to read them off carefully and slowly. I suggest everyone grab paper and pen as I am still trying to get these loaded into the website. I'm going to be home all weekend so that I can work on that. I will try to have at the very least, the one that I'm fixing to do next up on that website by Sunday. I will put out another video Sunday to give everybody an update, let them know. But I'm going to do the setup and the year-to-year planning for 7 Years War in this video. And then we'll have an intermission. And then I'm going to go ahead and read off the rules for the game itself. So I know that a lot of people have been asking for this. One of our big time followers, Ian Rogers, he's out there. I know he's been asking for it too, and he's been waiting for this to come about. So that is something that is going to happen. So Ian, this is for you and for all of our supporters, our subscribers, and our followers. We really appreciate you. So like it, live it, love it. Here we go. In the 7 Years War, we have a year-to-year lineup. In 1754, we have British and France are the only ones who are battling. And they're not actually at war. They're just having little land skirmishes. Hey, this is my land. And said, no, I brought wine, so it's mine. So there's that kind of thing. In 1755, the second half, the navies can start skirmishing, but they're only one-hit wonders, so they can hit, and then the water is contested from there until the next turn order. 1756, the first half, Britain and France finally do go to full war, so it's no more of this throwing, stereotypes at each other, but they do shoot to kill. In the second half, Prussia and Austria will join the war then. 1757, in the second half, Russia and Sweden join the war. In 1762, so several years later, several turns later, 1762, in the first half, Russia changes sides and Sweden drops from the war. Portugal and Spain are going to join the war at this time. So all the way up through the whole game, up until 1762, Portugal and Spain have been using their very minuscule IPPs to build what they can as they can until this point, and that's when they do finally join. And then the second half of 1762, all nations are going to drop from the war except Portugal and Spain, and it's going to finish out from there. From there, guys, excuse me, it's been an interesting week. So I'm going to start announcing the setup here in just a moment. I'm going to grab something to drink because I'm a little raw right this second. And then we're going to start with England, and then we'll go to Prussia, France, Austria, Portugal, Russia, Sweden, and then Spain. Grab a pen and grab a pad. We're going to get this done today. Have a good night, guys. I'll be right back. Hi again, guys. Sorry about that. I know I said I was going to do the setup this last round or this last video, but it's rough being a remote teacher who goes all over the state. So we're going to get back to this. So starting with England. Okay, so we're going to start with the setup. England, and I'm going to be kind of slow about it. And when I do load this up to the website, please keep in mind that I am going to make it so that it is free. It will be downloadable. You can copy paste it to your Word program, to your Open Office program, whatever program it is that you use. If you want to take a screenshot to put it in a PowerPoint, Death by PowerPoint with Axis and Allies, that could be a thing. I'm not even sure that I might actually do that. We'll see what happens. So starting with England, there are several pieces that are going to go out. So remember, we're using the global vinyl map for 1936 to 1945. So these are the different sections, and they are marked on the map. So for New England, is going to need 1 militia. New York is going to need 1 militia and 1 minor factory. The Northeast, 1 militia. Washington, 1 minor factory, 1 infantry, and 1 artillery. Now remember, the artillery are the cannon pieces from Risk by Parker Brothers. Appalachia is going to need 1 militia. The Bahamas, 1 infantry. Ireland, Scotland, Belfast, and Liverpool each get 1 infantry. Again, that's Ireland, Scotland, Belfast, and Liverpool each get 1 infantry. London will receive 2 infantry, 1 cavalry, and 1 artillery. Bengal in India, 3 infantry, 1 artillery, and 1 cavalry. Moving on to the sea zones, Sea Zone 24 is 2 frigates and 1 transport. Sea Zone 25 is 2 frigates. Sea Zone 30, 2 frigates. Sea Zone 72, 1 frigate. And Sea Zone 87, 2 frigates and 1 transport. Now, I know that the frigates don't exist in the Axis and Allies pieces, so at the end of the video, I will make sure to show you guys which ones of the Merchants and Marauders that we used for frigates versus transports, just in case you might have missed that in the video that NATO has done already, but I will refresh your memory on which pieces are which. So next we have up is Prussia. And Prussia is going to be controlling all of the German territory. So that's Berlin and Stettin and East Prussia. So Berlin is going to receive 1 major factory, 1 infantry, 1 artillery, and 1 cavalry. Stettin receives 1 infantry, and East Prussia receives 1 infantry. In France, we have a little bit of stuff, but the longest list is Spain, but we'll get to that because that's going to be last. In France, starting in Ottawa, is 1 infantry. Ottawa is 1 infantry, 1 artillery, 1 minor factory, and 1 cavalry. Ontario is 1 infantry. The Great Lakes, Chicago, New Orleans, Picardia, and Normandy all each get 1 infantry. Again, that is Great Lakes, New Orleans, Picardia, and Normandy all get 1 infantry. Bordeaux receives 1 infantry and 1 artillery. Paris, 1 major factory, 1 infantry, 1 cavalry, and 1 artillery. Marseille is 1 infantry. Sardinia is also 1 infantry. In Madras and Calcutta, we each have 1 militia. Again, that's Madras and Calcutta each have 1 militia. In Sea Zone 34, we have 2 frigates and 1 transport. In Sea Zone 49, we have 2 frigates. And Sea Zone 85 is 1 frigate and 1 transport. Please feel free to pause the video at any time, go back and do what you need to do. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a comment below and I will be more than happy to answer them. The next 2 lists are going to be pretty short. It's Austria and Portugal. So Austria is up next with Western Germany of 1 infantry, Munich with 1 infantry, Sudetenland with 1 infantry, and Austria itself is 1 infantry, 1 cavalry, 1 artillery, and 1 major factory. In Portugal, we have Portugal itself with 1 infantry, 1 cavalry, 1 artillery, and 1 minor factory. Amazonas in South America, 1 infantry. Porto Velho, 1 infantry. Rio de Janeiro, 1 infantry. And Sea Zone 48 is 1 frigate and 1 transport. Moving on to Russia, and forgive me if I pronounce something wrong, but I'm going to do my best. In Tornio, we have 1 infantry. Helsinki, 1 infantry. Viipuri, 1 infantry. Estonia, 1 infantry. Leningrad, 1 infantry, 1 cavalry, one artillery, and one major factory. Minsk, one infantry. Belarusia, one infantry. Western Ukraine, one infantry. Smolensk and Kiev will both receive one artillery, one cavalry, and one minor factory. Again, that's Smolensk and Kiev receive one artillery, one cavalry, and one minor factory each. Bessarabia, Eastern Ukraine, Donetsk-Kuban, Saratov, Stalingrad, and Kalmytskaya all receive one infantry. There will be no C zones for Russia. Again, that's Bessarabia, Eastern Ukraine, Donetsk-Kuban, Saratov, Stalingrad, and Kalmytskaya are all going to receive one infantry each. In Sweden, Sweden only has 2 sections that's going to receive units. Stockholm will receive one infantry, one cavalry, one artillery, and one minor factory. And Gothenburg will receive one infantry. My Spanish is a little bit better than my Russian, so we'll go on to that because Spain is actually a very long list. It is the longest list that we have. So if you need to, go ahead, pause the video, go ahead and go back, check on what you need. Shoot me a comment below if you don't understand anything or if you're having some ideas or some thoughts. So we can do that. But starting with Spain, in the Philippines, we have one militia. Barcelona has one infantry. Asturia Vasconia has one infantry. Madrid has one infantry, one cavalry, one artillery, and one major factory. Leon Castile has one infantry. Extremadura has one infantry. Now, everything else I say from here until I get to the C zones receives one militia, and that is all. So this list is actually pretty simple to follow. So I'm going to go through the list from here down until I get to the Z zones is one militia each. That's Texas, southeastern U.S., Cuba, Mexico in the Atlantic, Mexico in the Pacific, Latin America, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Paraguay, Santa Fe, Chile, Uruguay, Great Plains, Western U.S., Southwest U.S., San Francisco, and the Canary Islands. Again, I'm going to go through that list one more time so that you guys can write it all down. I'll go a little bit slower this time. And again, these each get one militia. And that goes Texas, southeastern U.S., Cuba, Mexico, Atlantic side, Mexico, Pacific side, Latin America, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Paraguay, Santa Fe, Chile, Uruguay, Great Plains, Western U.S., Southwest U.S., San Francisco, and the Canary Islands. For C zones, each one of these C zones that I'm going to state, it has one frigate apiece. So that's just something that you guys need to know also. There are 5 C zones that I'm going to say, one frigate each for each one of these, and that's 70, 71, 79, 80, and 90. So that's a setup chart for you guys. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to shoot me a comment below. I will be getting to the rules here in just a second. We're going to take a short break and make sure that we have all this stuff together. NATO is actually behind me working on some of the rules for the Napoleonic Wars and adding up into the Texas-Mexico War that's coming up next after the Napoleonic Wars. I had to clarify, verify with that earlier after doing the pieces. So we're going to go ahead and get those rules together for you, and I will see you guys back here in just a moment. Thank you so much for watching. Hi guys, welcome back. Just another couple things. We're going to start off with the turn order and the actual rules of the game and a few other things that we're going to consist of. But first, I'm going to show you guys a few things. The game is based on D6 rolls only. You don't actually get into D12s until many legacy games later on. These are really cool. They have little skulls inside of them. They're one of my favorite sets. But with that, we also have, I promised to show you guys the frigates and the transports. In Merchants Marauders, you have this, the brown ships like this. There's several different types, brigs and galleons and frigates and schooners and, or, you know, all sloops and stuff like that. All the brown ships are going to be used as transports, regardless of size. And vice versa on the colored ships. No matter what size the ship is, it's going to be used as a frigate for the 7 Years' War and the Napoleonic Wars. So with each one of the ships, no matter what size, from, you know, sloop to galleon, so from small to big, they're going to be used as the frigates. And that's mostly because we don't actually have frigates. We are working on an order for shapeways so that we can get some more pieces in and get those painted and ready to go for the board for the actual game itself. So that is just so you guys know the difference. Anything brown is a transport, anything another color is a frigate. It's really that simple. So I have my glasses on because I had to take my contacts out. Up here in the Northwest, we are covered in smoke coming in from California and different parts of Yellowstone and stuff like that. So my contacts are actually driving me crazy, and I have a cup of hot tea, so we're going to get this started. We're going to start with the turn order and production points of each country for the 7 Years' War. Starting with England. England is actually going to start off with 37 production points. Next in line is going to be Prussia with 13 production points, followed up by France, starting at 28. Austria is going to start at 10. Portugal at 4. Russia at 39. Sweden at 3. And Spain at 34. I do have a nice laundry list here of different things that I'm going to go through, including some of the national objectives, which I'll do next. But I am going to say this, that as far as consistency order for each turn, it's going to follow the same as Axis and Allies. So you have your purchasing and lease part, and then you have your combat move, combat, non-combat, and then collect your production points and place your units. So just like any Axis and Allies game, whether you're playing global or you're playing Eastern or you're playing the Pacific or you're playing the Atlantic, or whichever the case may be, that is the turn, each person's turn order. So again, that's purchasing and leasing, combat move, combat, non-combat move, and then collect your points and place your units. Very, very simple, easy to follow. We do have a couple of other things that we have in here. One of these various lists I have in here has the movement charts and stuff like that. I'm trying to find, oh, there it is. Okay, so very simple. Militia, I'm going to do what we can attack, defend, move, and our cost of each pieces. And then I'll get into the national objectives. That way everybody has a good idea of where we're standing. So militia are a cost of 2 points. They attack at 1, they defend at 1, but they cannot move. So when your militia is placed, and you know, like Spain's case, which has a nice long laundry list of places where they have militia in Texas and Rio de Janeiro and everywhere else, they can't move, but they can defend and they can attack if, you know, it is deemed necessary. Infantry, same thing as Axis and Allies. They cost 3 points. They can move 1, they defend at 1, and they attack at 1. For our cavalry pieces, remember those are the horse pieces from Risk by Parker Brothers. They attack at a 2, they defend at a 1. They move 2 places at a time, but they cost 4 points per unit. So they're a little costly, but they can work with it. Cannon, which have to be escorted by cavalry. So you have to have a cavalry unit to pull a cannon because we didn't have the great technology of combustible engines in the 1700s, although that would have been awesome. So cannons cost 4 points as well. They can move one space at a time. They attack and defend at a 2. Now, our various colored frigates are beautiful ships, no matter what size they are. They will cost 10 points per unit. They will move two. They can move 2 sea zones at a time. They have a attack at a 3 and a defend at a 3. But if they are doing a shore bombardment, they attack at a 2. So that's something to remember. So attack at a 3 on a regular basis in the water, or attack at a 2 if they are bombarding the shore. So if we have some of Spanish frigates show up in the Bahamas and they're attacking England, then they would shore bombard at a 2 rather than a 3. Transports, just like Axis and Allies, except for our transports are all brown and they all look like the same ships as the colored ones. No attack, no defense. Please don't use them as cannon fodder. That's really not fair because you do want to get your units over. But they do move at a 2 as well, and they will cost 7 points per turn, or per unit, excuse me. Multiple national objectives. I'm going to grab a drink of my tea here. We have different units, or different nations have different objectives. I know Nato describes some of these in his videos throughout the gameplay, and I know he scattered them out so it was a little bit easier to understand. But being that this is a video rule book, for lack of a better term, that's what we're going to do here. I'm just going to lay out the objectives for every country, and we're going to go from there on that. So for England must control the following territories by turn 18. So England needs to hold Ottawa, the Great Lakes, the Midwest, Chicago, the Heartlands or the Great Plains, and New Orleans, and the Southeast U.S. and the Philippines. And they also need to make sure that Prussia stays in the war. And I have family that was Prussian many, many generations ago. That would be a good idea. Keep us in the war. That would be nice. Because otherwise, things could go wrong later on in the legacy game. So let's keep Prussia in the war. That would be awesome. But each one of those country or territories are worth 1 point apiece. So we're going to go through that again. Ottawa, the Great Lakes, Midwest, Chicago, Great Plains, New Orleans, Southeast United States, and the Philippines. For Prussia, other than the fact that they need to stay alive, they need to control the following territories by turn 18, and that's Munich, Austria, and Sudetenland, and East Prussia at all times. They cannot lose East Prussia whatsoever. So they have a total possibility of 5 points there to maintain what they need for their victory objective. Portugal must maintain control of Portugal itself, and they have a total possible points of 1. Now, England, Prussia, and Portugal together, that's one faction. It's a total of 16 faction points that are possible to win in the game itself. For France, we have, so we're on the other objectives for France, Austria, Sweden, and Spain. France must control New England, New York, the Northeast, Washington, Appalachia, and the Carolinas. And they must keep Austria in the war. So that's a good idea for France because legacy and Austria and Prussia, and you guys know how World War I started. So we won't go into that, depending on which book you read. So with Austria, you have to maintain control of Berlin and Stettin, and of course, stay in the war. Sweden must take control, or must control East Prussia by turn 17 instead of 18, because remember, Sweden drops out of the war then. So we want to make sure that Sweden has East Prussia under its control. Or if you're on the other side, you want to make sure that Sweden doesn't even touch Prussia, which would be phenomenal. And then you have Spain. Spain must control Portugal by the end of the game. And they have a possibility of earning 2 points. And this entire faction can earn also a total of 16 points. And for France, each one of their territories is worth 1 point. Austria, Berlin is worth 2 points, and Stettin 1. And then East Prussia to Sweden is worth 3 points. So we want to make sure that those national objectives are recognized no matter what we do on that. So there are a few things that I'm going to reiterate from the beginning of this video. I know this is a very lengthy video, but again, video by or rule book by video, that's going to happen, and it's going to happen again with the next one, with the American Revolution, and then with the Napoleonic Wars, and it'll get better with time and a lot easier to understand. So again, we're going to remember that the British and the French can fight each other in the beginning. So I'm trying to read NATO's notes here. They can attack each other, but all cities are off limits. Combat is 1 roll apiece. Remember, those are D6s, so it's just pow pow, bye bye. Land is contested, done. In turn 4, the British and French ships can start skirmishing in the waters. Again, one-hit wonders. And the water is contested if nothing happens from there. Russia, Spain, and Portugal cannot begin purchasing until they are at war. So that's something to keep in mind. It's something I did screw up earlier. I do apologize for that. So Spain and Portugal are sitting there and they're just collecting and collecting and collecting their points and their production points. And suddenly when they go to war, they have a nice handful of cash and they say, hey, I'm going to buy a boat. And that's what happens. In turn 5, England and France again go to full war. All territories are open to attack. So that includes Washington, that includes New York, and all of the other large cities there on the eastern coast of the United States, as well as London and Paris and all of the others. And the ships now, in turn 5, ships now fight to the death. So, or until, the attacker retreats. So if you decide that you are going to retreat, you're like, nope, this is too costly to me, then of course, the fight would end. But the ships and the British and the French on land will fight to the death, instead of it just being one-hit wonders. And Oh, just the ships? Okay, so just the ships, so I'm being corrected, that's cool. But the other thing is that the battles are consistent with Axis and Allies as well. So, you roll for your turn, the defender chooses the pieces that they're going to remove, they get put into the casualty zone. The defender rolls in lieu of shooting back in the hopes of hitting one of the attacker's pieces. Pieces are removed respectively, and then the fight, can go on in the next turn. Nations can lease half of the income to another country, rounded up, of course. That will start when they enter the war, NATO. Okay, so once like Prussia gets into the war, then Britain can start leasing to Prussia at half of their production points, and we can remember that Prussia's production points at the start is 13. Half of that would be 6.5, so it would actually go up to 7. So if England wanted to, they could actually lend lease 7 production points per turn to Prussia. And then the British must attack. Okay, this is turn 1. the British must attack the French-held Great Plains. So that is one thing to start things off, so that you guys know that there is a fight somewhere out there. A bunch of red coats are going to fight a bunch of blue coats, and they're going to pow each other because muskets, and then the land will be contested if the casualties are not removed right away. Or not removed right away, but if there's still units on the board. Again, frigates can support amphibious landings, so a frigate can convoy with a transport and use it as a shore bombardment to utilize for transports to allow their soldiers to get onto land. So again, if that was like Spain bringing a frigate over to drop into the Bahamas against England, they could do that. But transports can carry 2 land units per ship. So that's 2 infantry, or an infantry and artillery, or an infantry and a cavalry. And the same house rules do apply with the transports as we have used them in Axis and Allies, because when you're on a boat, you're not going anywhere, and there is no energy being expelled by the units that are on the boat. So the boat can load up and then drop off if necessary in that turn. So that is something to remember as well. And I am looking for anything else. I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We do have a business email that is on our channel page under our contact information. So you can shoot us a direct email if you have heavy questions. Again, I am going to get all this information typed up. I'm going to converse with Nato a few times to make sure that I have his information correct here on the notes and stuff, so that when we do put it up on the website and I do process the link this Sunday and get it out there for you guys, I can make sure that that everything is there. It is printable, downloadable, and you can save it, share it, and everything else that you need to do. So if there's anything else that you guys need, please feel free to shoot a shout out to me and let me know. We will see you guys soon. Nato is still working on the Napoleonic Wars. He is researching a lot of information, but he is back in school, so he does have a full list of classes. This particular term is interesting because he's actually taking World War II history, part of his major, because he is a history and anthropology major, and 2 of his classes are exactly that, is history and anthropology. So it's going to be an interesting next 2 months with me not being home very much and him being in class, and videos might slow down a little bit, but don't count on it. We've got this going on. Like it, live it, love it. Don't forget to subscribe. We really appreciate everybody who has been out here, and we really appreciate you guys. Live for you right here from the nest. I'm Viper. Viper out. Hey, thanks for watching Axis and Allies players. Don't forget to hit a squat on that like button. If you'd like to see more videos just like this, go ahead and click on our subscribe button. You can view all of our other videos on our playlist right here on Viper and Nato, straight from the nest, coming at you from Historical Board Games, Z-Man Games, Parker Brothers, Hasbro, and Wizards of the Coast. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next round.